Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you how to configure your environment. In this particular video I want to use GitHub Code Spaces to show how to configure it, but you don't have to use it. You can just follow along the video and do everything you need on your local machine. I will not show how to install Docker. You will need to do it yourself because Code Spaces already has Docker, and we will focus on installing the libraries we need for this particular module. Or you can, again, as I said, you don't have to use Code Spaces. It's a very convenient tool, but you can also, for this module, you can use Google Colab, you can use Saturn Cloud, you can use any other notebook provider like SageMaker, or you can just run things locally. For the second module, we will need a GPU. Right now, we don't need a GPU. For the second module, we will. So if you have an access to a machine with GPU, it's good. You should use that. If you don't, then this is something we will talk about in the next module. Right now, back to Code Spaces, I will show you how to set up a simple environment from scratch, and it's free. So you should go to your GitHub account, create a new repository, give it some name. So I'll call it LLM Zoomcamp, and it should be public, because you will commit your notebooks, your homeworks here, and then you will need to share the link to the homework in the answer form. So make it private, and then the license, we don't care about the license. Gitignore should be Python. So let's create the repository. And once the repo is created, we click on code, and there are two tabs here, local and code spaces. I just click on create a code space on mine. Right now it will start Visual Studio Code in a browser. So it is preparing the environment. We don't want to use the browser, so I already have Visual Studio Desktop on my computer. You should also have it if you want to follow along this tutorial. Again, you don't have to do this. If you already have the tools we are going to install later, you should be fine. So now let me open it on Visual Studio Code Desktop. So I clicked here and I click on Open in VS Code Desktop. And right now, Visual Studio Code, if it's the first time you run Code Spaces, it should, after some time, should ask you to install an extension for Code Spaces. If it doesn't, you will need to do this manually. You go to Extensions and you type Code Spaces here. Yeah, so this one, you will need to install it. I already have it, so I don't need to install it. And actually, we already have a code space enabled in accessible in our Visual Studio Code Desktop. And I just pressed Ctrl tilde to open the command line. And here we already have Docker. Docker run hello world. So Docker Compose are already here, and we have Python. And I'll show you two ways of preparing the environment. The first way would be just using the Python that we already have here. We'll need to install the libraries we need. And then in the second part of the video, I'll show you how to install Anaconda. With Anaconda, you don't need to install any libraries. You can just download Anaconda, and that's all you need. So for installing libraries, we'll use pip install. And then there's a bunch of libraries we need to install. TQDM, which is a progress manager. It's very convenient. Well, we will not need TQDM actually for this particular module. We will need it later. Then we will need Jupyter Notebook. I'll specify the version. The version will be 7.1.2. Then we will need OpenAI to speak to the OpenAI API. And also we will need Elasticsearch. So Arch. And at the end, as I said, we will use a simple toy search engine, but then at the end of the module we will replace it with Elasticsearch. and that's why we need to install it. I don't know if we need to install anything else. So also I think scikit-learn, yeah, and pandas. So that's all we need: TQDM, Jupyter Notebook, OpenAI, Elasticsearch, scikit-learn, pandas. When later we use Anaconda, we will need to install TQDM, OpenAI, and Elasticsearch. It already has Jupyter, it already has scikit-learn, it already has pandas. And then I made a typo: Elasticsearch. Hopefully it should work now. So many typos. So did I make a typo? Did I make a typo again? No, this time it was actually good. And while we are installing it, we will need to have a key for OpenAI, because we will use its LLM, GPT. So I will go to platform.openai.com. You should register there if you haven't. And this is sort of semi-optional. We will also show how to run it without OpenAI, but for simplicity and also for this module, you should have an account there. And then we need to go to API keys, and I'm going to create a new API key. I'll call it course, and I'll create a secret key. I will remove this key, of course, after recording this video. I don't want you to use it, of course. But right now you will see my key, but this should never ever happen. Like you have to watch your key and never ever expose it, commit it to Git, or show it to anyone. No, show it to people you don't trust. So now we need to take the key, and now I write export OpenAI API key, and then I copy the key. So now we have the key in our environment, and I just start Jupyter Notebook. So a notebook starting, and if you run in code spaces like me, you should notice that this ports tab got 1. So it means that it detected that there is a port 8888 that is running on the code spaces, and it automatically forwarded this port to our local machine, which means that now we can use our browser to access the Jupyter Notebook. I'll just type localhost 8888, and yeah, it asks for token. We can just copy this whole thing, or if the port is different for you, you can copy this token. So maybe you already have Jupyter running, and then the port would be 88889, something like that. I don't know how many 8s I said. Anyways, so we have Jupyter. Now I just click New, Python 3. It will automatically open it. And let me make it large. I'll hide header here, and then we can just test that things work. So I'll import OpenAI. So it works. And now we can send a simple request to OpenAI. So let me quickly check the code. So actually, we do it from OpenAI import OpenAI. Create a client. And here, when we create a client, we can provide the API key explicitly here by saying API key. And then this is the key that I have. Is that the key? I think you should start with SK, whatever. I'm just wondering, what did I put here? Because typically the key starts with SK something. will not try to find it here. Anyways, so we put the key like that, or if we don't provide it, it will read it from the environmental variable that we created. We can quickly check if actually I read that. So we import OS env creates policies. Maybe this dot. Yeah, I think it's OS in the environment. Yeah. So here we have we should have OpenAI key. Yeah. So this is the key. So this is the right key, and we can put the key directly, or if we set up this this environmental variable, we don't need to do anything. So we just do client, initialize the client. It looks up the key in the environmental variables and uses it. And so we have the client, and now we can say that we want to use chat API like that, and we can specify the model we want to use. So for example, if we go here to playground, we can see what kind of models they have, right? So we can just say we want to use GPT 4.0, GPT 4.0, and messages is what we want to write to the client. So let's say, yeah, so we need to specify the role. There are multiple roles like user and system. We will not go into details right now. So user is like when in ChatGPT I type something, so the role is user for me. So this is exactly what I did when I typed, when I opened GPT in the intro video, ChatGPT, and typed, how do I cook salmon? And then content is, let me write something like, is it too late to join the course? And then let's save it to response, and then see what is the reply. And the reply is, yeah, there's a bunch of things, but we can say choices. So there is only one choice, right? And then the message inside the choices is this one. Or we can just show the content by doing it this way. So, and then this is the answer, right? So of course it has no idea what course I'm referring to, and therefore it provides this answer. Now I'll show you a different way to prepare the environment. So this is kind of enough, but if you want to see how to do it with Anaconda, it's a little bit easier. Anaconda install Linux. Then we have this link, docs Anaconda free Anaconda install Linux, and then there is a URL that we need to execute to have, and we can see the full list of installers available at this link, and I'll just pick, this is probably the latest one. Notice that this is actually quite large, so it's almost 1 gigabyte. Because like there's a lot of stuff in Anaconda, and most of it we frankly don't need. But for simplicity, like it's very simple. We just download, unpack it, and can use it. So I copy the link, and I'll stop right now, Jupyter, and I'll do wget. I'll go one level up, so I don't download Anaconda in my workspace. I do wget, and then this path. So now I download it, and I will now unpack it. You can also, instead of using Anaconda, you can use Miniconda. Maybe I'll show you too how to do this. Miniconda install Linux. And this is actually the same. We just need to find Anaconda installer for Linux. We just need to find where, yeah, this is the latest. So they also have this repo. This is the same URL as we used previously. So let's use this one with Python 3.10 for Linux, this architecture. So we'll copy the link and notice that it's way smaller. So it's way smaller than what we had. So I'll just do wget. And let's install Miniconda, but for Anaconda it's the same. You do bash Miniconda, and then you read the agreement. It's becoming longer and longer. Yeah, come on. Yeah, I accept because I read very carefully. So now we install Miniconda. And with Anaconda it would be the same, just would take a little bit longer. We initialize it, and now when I create a new shell, we have base here, meaning that we use the base environment. Now we can use which Python to see where the Python comes from. So the Python comes from Miniconda, and when we do Python -v, so this is a Python from Anaconda. So this could be convenient if you are not running on code spaces. But now when we do which pip, we can install the same things we installed previously. And if it's Miniconda, if it's Anaconda, you don't need to install Jupyter, you don't need to install scikit-learn, you don't need to install pandas, just Elasticsearch, OpenAI, and TQDM. I think that's enough for this. So now you know how to prepare the environment. Maybe just last thing, I'll show you how to commit your changes. So this is the file we worked on. Let's say this is your homework. Of course, give it a meaningful name. We can create a new, create a proper directory for this. 0.1 intro. I think I made a typo. Intro. And then put it there, and then give it a good name like homework. And then we put it. I created a file instead of a directory. Yeah. So I'll create a folder 0.1 intro. Put it there, and do git add. Now we have this there, and I just do git commit homework1 and push it to git. So now it's there. We pushed it to git. We have prepared the environment. Now I'll just stop the code space. Should be stopped. I'll also show you how to delete it. It's not necessary, but like if you just want, if you know that you are not going to use it, you can just delete it. And that's how you use code spaces for preparing the environment. So yeah, have fun. And in the next unit, we will see how to prepare, how to index our documents with a search engine. See you soon.